Hey, stop right there. Have you wanted to do some very interesting lace patterns, but you didn't know where to begin? You don't know how to do twisted stitches, and you certainly don't know how to read a chart? Don't worry, your By Crafty bestie is here to save the day.
Show me love, show me love.
Welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, where you get knitting and crochet videos to help you become a better crafter. In this video, I will teach you how to do the mistletoe lace stitch pattern. This is a fun stitch pattern that uses some really easy increases, decreases to create that interesting shape where you can go on and make blankets or scarves or garments, or sky is the limit. I will teach you how to do basic lace instructions, understanding the relationship between the yarn over and the decrease. I'll also teach you how to do twisted stitches, so you'll know how to knit through the back leg or purl through the back leg. Along with those twisted stitches, we have to know how to do twisted decreases, so you get to learn how to do the twisted knit two together and the TSKP. One is a right leaning and the other is a left leaning. Last but not least, you will learn how to read lace charts. Everything you will learn in this video, you can take with you to future projects and become an amazing knitter for those. Without further ado, let's grab that free pattern. You'll find the link in the video description box right down there below. While you're down there, please smash that like button, as my kids say, and hit subscribe along with that notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I release a new video to make you a better knitter or crocheter. Okay, when you have that free pattern, get your materials, join me back here, and we will get started with this really fun mistletoe knit lace pattern.
Show me love.
Welcome back. Now that you have your pattern and your materials, let's go ahead and jump in and begin this gorgeous mistletoe lace pattern. Okay, before we jump into the actual knitting, I want to take a look at this chart. I'm assuming that all of you can cast on and knit and purl, and it might be that you're just uncomfortable with the term knitted lace. You don't really know what it means. You know that there's some increases and decreases, but you aren't really sure. Well, to me, one of the biggest aspects when it comes to knitted lace is how to read lace charts. So I want to talk about this chart to begin with. The first thing to note is that when you are reading any chart, you are looking at that chart as if you're looking at the right side of your fabric. And that's important because as you're reading the chart, if you're turning your fabric to the right side and wrong side, you will have to read your chart from right to left for the right side and left to right for the wrong side. For this particular pattern, there are patterns where that is switched up, but for this pattern, right to left is for the right side. Left to right is for the wrong side. That also means that all of these symbols have two meanings. So, for example, as we take a look down here at row 1, okay, row 1 is highlighted, you can see it's just a bunch of blank squares. Now, the first thing is each of those squares represents a stitch, okay? Each of those squares represents a stitch. And we know based on our chart legend that all of those blank squares, when they're on the right side, are knits. When they're on the wrong side, they are purls. So we know row 1 here is a right side. We're going to read it from right to left. And a big clue is that our number right there, our row number, is over here on the right-hand side. And we'll read it from the right-hand side all the way across. That just lets us know we're going to be knitting every stitch, right? But as we go to row 2, not only are we introduced to a brand new symbol, but we're also on the wrong side of our fabric. We've turned our work. We're going to read our stitches from left to right on our chart. Our number, our row number is right out here on the left to kind of be our clue of, hey, this is the side you're going to start reading from. And you're going to start reading all of these stitches. And you're like, okay, they're dots. They're going to be purls. And the answer is no. We're on the wrong side, remember? So those dots, when you're on the wrong side, they actually mean knits. So on row 2, you're going to knit all the way across. Then you get to row 3, you turn your work, you're back to those blank squares. You're like, aha, those are knits because I'm on the right side and those are knits. I'm going to keep knitting. And you're like, wait a minute. When I knit every single row, What is the stitch that you get when you knit every single row? Come on, don't be afraid. Shout it out there. Garter stitch. That's right. When you knit every single row, you get garter stitch. I always make the joke that if you purl every single row because you're sadistic, you also get garter stitch. Same thing, just a different stitch, but it's the same stitch pattern, right? You knit every row, you're going to get garter stitch. So as we're looking at this lace chart here, and we're looking at these rows 1 through 7, even though it looks like it's a different stitch on each one of those rows, right? On 4, we're back to the dots. On 5, it's blank. On 6, it's dots. 7, it's blank. We are knitting every single rows from 1 through 7. It's just garter stitch. We're keeping those stitches in garter stitch. And that's important because now we have some sort of stability on the bottom of what will be our lace stitch pattern, right? Whether you're making a swatch, a blanket, a pillow, a scarf, whatever it may be, we now have a little stability here to our fabric, right? Now, having said that, is the garter stitch absolutely necessary to work the mistletoe stitch pattern? No, absolutely not. But it's a good place to start. If you're going to work a little swatch here with me, or whether you're working on one of the projects, the garter stitch is a good place to start. If you're looking to incorporate the mistletoe stitch lace stitch pattern into something that you're going to make later on, well, then that's where you're really going to want to decide whatever you want the start of your fabric to be. And it's on row 8, which is the setup row, that you're going to be most concerned with, because it's on row 8 that we actually begin to set up what our lace stitches are going to be, okay? Which our lace stitches for this pattern include twisted stitches, which don't be afraid. They're going to be really easy to do. I show you how to do those, both the knit twisted and the purl twisted, or through the back leg, whatever you want to call it. They're real easy to do. But on row 8, we start on the wrong side. We begin with 5 knits, and we'll keep those knits the same throughout the entire project. We begin and end with garter stitch. But then as we get to the blank ones here, remember, we're on the wrong side. So those are all going to be purls all the way up to where we have that little like loop looking thing, right? That's a twisted stitch, or a through the back leg stitch. All right. Now, again, we're on the wrong side. So that's going to be a purl through the back leg. If we were on the right side, like we would be on row 9, you'll see that same stitch symbol, but it will be a knit through the back leg. All right. So same symbol, but it has a different meaning whether you're on the right side or wrong side. So it's very important to understand right side and wrong side. We are going to go ahead and jump in to our stitch pattern beginning on row 8. I figured you already know how to do some garter stitch, so we jump in with row 8, where I show you how to do that purl through the back leg. Then we work through several rows together. I let you work on yours by yourself, and then we're going to jump back in the pattern together on row 21, where the stitch pattern changes up. Okay, so something I do want to make sure I'm pointing out to you when you're working these lace stitch patterns, okay? As you're working these patterns, you will be doing these stitches here that are, let me go like this. You can see that this is a knit 2 together. It has a line and it has that little kind of the loopy-doo through it. That's a twisted knit 2 together. And the knit 2 togethers, they lean to the right. And that's important because you'll notice all of these stitches here, they're going to lean towards the right as we're working those decreases. The other side, these stitches here, these are a twisted knit slip stitch over, I can never remember the name, but it's essentially, it's a stitch that's going to lean to the left. So as this side of the fabric is going to lean to the right, giving us a nice look of a leaning chevron, we're going to have these stitches leaning to the left, which is a nice leaning chevron. And that's important because as we want these stitches to lean one direction or the next, that will determine whether we're using the twisted knit 2 together or the TKSP. Now, the other thing I want to make note is whenever you see a decrease, whenever you see this knit 2 together or the TKSP, you'll always see a corresponding yarn over. For every decrease, there is an increase, and that's because that is the whole premise of a majority of lace patterns. There are those anomalies out there, but the whole majority of lace patterns, for every increase, there is the same number of decreases, so that way your stitch pattern does not change across the entire row. These are key things you need to remember as you're working knitted lace. All right. Okay. So now that we know all that, we have our pattern, we have our materials, let's go ahead and jump in with row 8, shall we? All right. So we have some stitches already worked up. I've worked rows 1 through 7 already because it's just in garter stitch. And I will continue on with row 8, which is a wrong side row. We begin with a knit 5, and I will always keep these first 5 stitches of the project in garter stitch. So I've placed a marker there just to very quickly and easily distinguish those 5 stitches. Now I want to purl 9. This is where we get to our very first twisted stitch. So we're going to purl through the back leg. Bring your yarn forward, take your right hand needle, and go into the back leg, going from the left side through the back leg to the right side. You can see how the needle is in front of that front leg there. Yarn over your right hand needle just like you would if you were purling, and then bring your needle back through that same direction. So now there's our new stitch. Let our old stitch jump off our left hand needle, and we've just done a purl through the back leg. We now will purl the next stitch, knit the next stitch, purl 1 stitch, and then we have a purl through the back leg again. So take our right hand needle, going to the left side of that stitch, grab that back leg, and come up and through. So my right hand needle is in front of the front leg of that stitch. I will yarn over my right hand needle just like I would if I were purling just regularly. Okay. Bring that stitch through and off. Go ahead and carry on. So we purl the next stitch and the next one and the next one. Now we purl through the back leg again. Purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, purl through the back leg again, and then you carry on purling 9. You can see I already have a marker there to let me know that these last 5 are going to be knit, just to keep them in garter stitch. So I will knit those. And boom, your very first row, which is the row 8, it looks like a whole lot of nothing, but I promise as we continue on, it'll grow into a bit of a something. So now that we have finished our very first wrong side row, we will turn our work and carry on with row 9, which is our first right side row of the lace stitch pattern. It's not too hard, I promise. Let's tackle this together. Okay, here we go, everybody. We are starting row 9. Like always, I will begin by knitting my first 5 stitches right here and then slip my marker. I love having that marker there so that I remember that those are always worked like so. I will then knit 3 stitches. Now I purl 5 stitches, and just a little note, when you purl that first one, give it a little extra pull and it'll just pull that nice and snug, and you'll have a nice transition from one stitch to the next, and then carry on with your purls. So there's 3, 4, and 5. Now this is my first twisted knit 2 together. For a twisted knit 2 together, you will slip these 2 stitches as if to purl. Now you take your left hand needle, go into the front leg of that first stitch, and go from front to back and slip it off back over to your left hand needle. You'll notice that the legs on the bottom of that stitch are now twisted. Now we take this other stitch and we just slip it over. So from tip to tip, you just slip it over. You don't twist it at all. Now you carry on and work your knit 2 together like you normally would. And you'll notice that the stitch right there, it remains twisted. So that is our twisted knit two together. Okay. Now we knit one, purl one, knit one, and we're to a knit one through the back leg. So before we did a purl one through the back leg, now we do a knit one. So we're going to take our right hand needle, go through the back leg of the next stitch, and just knit it. And when we pop that off, you notice it crosses the legs of the stitch, and that's what makes it a twisted stitch. Now we're also going to do a yarn over. So our yarn is in back. Bring our yarn in front between our needles and go up and over top of your right hand needle. That little strand of yarn right there, that is our yarn over. We want to make sure that does not go anywhere as we knit the next three stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that yarn over, it's going to look like it's an accidental stitch if you are a new knitter, but that's what we want. We want that yarn over. And we're going to do it again, okay? And just in case you guys are knitting with the yarn in your right hand, the yarn's in back. Bring it in front between your needles and back over top of your right hand needle. All right, that is our yarn over. Now we want to knit through the back leg. Once again, go through the back leg of that next stitch, just like so. Yarn over, bring that yarn over through and off. We now have a twisted stitch right there. That's what we want. Knit one, purl one. Again, whenever I go from a knit to a purl, I always tighten that up just a little bit. It just makes your purls a little bit tidier. It looks really good. Then we knit one. And now we have a, let's see, it's a twisted knit pass slip stitch over sort of thing. So this is what we're going to do. We are already dealing with the twisted stitch right here. So we're going to just slip this over as if to purl. You knit the next stitch and then you pass that stitch right over top. And that stitch there is already twisted. So it is nice and it's already twisted and we're good to go. So we would carry on then. We would purl 5. So purl my first one. I always give it a little tug. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I will finish off with my knit 3 if I'm only doing one repeat. Slip my marker, which lets me know that these last 5 stitches are knits. All right, so when we look at the end of this row, it still looks like a whole lot of nothing, but there's a little something going on. We can see that there's something happening there. We just aren't too sure yet what it is. That's okay. As we carry on with this pattern, we will see more and more of it reveal itself. That's the beauty of lace. So we will carry on with row 10, which is a wrong side row. So simply turn your work and let's go on to row 10. Okay, so we turn our work and hopefully you're able to work along with me and complete at least this first repeat and kind of get your bearings of how to do this mistletoe lace pattern with these fun lace stitches. I know I'm having a good time. All right, we're on the wrong side. So that means if you're looking at your chart, it will be working the wrong side instructions, which means if it's a blank stitch or a blank box, you're going to be purling those. And then if it's a box with a dot in it, you're going to be knitting those. So make sure you knit those ones. Let's see, purl 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we have a purl through the back leg. We know how to do this, right? So we bring our yarn forward, go into the back leg. So coming from the right side through the stitch over, I'm sorry, that's the left side, isn't it? Coming from the left side through the stitch over here, yarn over your needle, come back and off. So that is a purl through the back leg. Now we will purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, purl 1 through the back leg. So work that again. And then we have purl 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we have another purl through the back leg. Then we have a purl 1 a knit 1, purl 1, purl through the back leg, and then we have knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, purl 3, slip our marker, which is to remind me that these last 5 are knits. Pretty easy stuff, right? You'll get really used to doing all of those twisted stitches as you go along, and you'll see that things are starting to take shape a little bit more. All those yarn overs now, it looks like you have a hole, which is great. That's what we want with lace. So as you are working along now, as we turn our work and continue on with row 11, it's going to start to take shape even more with some more fun twisted stitches in there. So let's go ahead and dive in with row 11. Don't forget that you can follow along with the pattern. It is available at marleybird.com. The link is in the video description box below. So that way you can follow along with everything I'm doing. All right, so I've knit my 5, moved my marker. Now I knit 3. I will purl 4. And I am on the right side, just to remind you guys how this is working. So I purled 4. Now I am going to do my twisted knit 2 together. So I slip these 2 stitches just like so, as if to purl. I will twist this first stitch. So I'm going to go into the front leg from front to back and move it back over to my left hand needle. Move that second stitch there back to my left hand needle. And now I just knit them together. And that gives me my twisted knit 2 together. Okay. Then I knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, knit 1 through the back leg. So I'm going to go through the back leg and knit this one. That gives me a nice row of twisted stitches. I really like those stitches a lot. Now I'm going to do a yarn over. So once again, bring my yarn forward between my needles, up over top of my right hand needle and back to the back. Okay. My next stitch is a knit, so I leave my yarn in back and I go ahead and I will knit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I have another yarn over here, so bring my yarn forward, up over top of my right hand needle, back to the back. Make sure it stays at the back as I work a knit through the back leg on the next stitch, just like so. Knit 1. Purl 1, knit 1, and now I have a TSKP. So if you remember, we will slip the first one purlwise, knit the next stitch, and then slip that twisted stitch back over. Okay, so it was twisted from the previous row. So it might seem deceiving. We aren't working another twisted stitch. We simply twisted or slipped the twisted stitch from the previous row. That's how we get that really nice line there. Then we carry on. I will purl 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, knit 3, and that will bring me up to my marker, slip my marker over, and then knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How many of you are excited to see what this one looks like? As you get going, it's really great because you're like, oh man, something's happening here. I can see something's happening. And you're just excited to see what the next step is. I know that's how I feel every time I do lace or cables or color work. It's just so exciting. So let's go ahead and turn our work and carry on to row 12. Which is a wrong side row. So remember, as you're looking at your chart, make sure you're following those wrong side instructions. But we will start off with our knit 5 right here. Get over to that stitch marker. I love having that stitch marker in place. Okay, so we will purl 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Knit 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we have a purl through the back leg. As you can tell now, probably, we're doing our purl through the back leg in the same stitches that we are keeping twisted on the front side. So I'm coming through that back leg there and I'm going to purl it. It's going to maintain a nice twisted line of stitches. It looks really good when everything is said and done. Purl 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch, purl through the back leg to keep that stitch twisted on the right side. And then we are now going to, let's see here, these are purls. So purl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Now, once again, we're going to purl through the back leg again. So bring my yarn forward, go into the back leg of that stitch as if to purl, and purl it. Then I will purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, purl through the back leg again, and then I will knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I have a purl 3, 1, 2, 3. That brings me to my marker, and I will knit 5. Oh boy, what are we getting here? Look at that, you guys. I'm telling you, with this lace pattern, the wrong side and the right side both look great. Look at that great line of knit stitches right here on the wrong side as it comes together. I love this pattern so much. I think it's so versatile and so much fun, and you learn so many fun stitches, and you get the look of like some fun moving textured stitches just by doing these knit 2 togethers and doing some yarn overs. So it's simple lace with some twisted stitches in there, and so it just makes it that much more fun. All right, so we just finished row 12. We're moving on to row 13, which is a right side row. So let's jump in and take a look down here. We'll keep our first 5 stitches in knits. How many of you have added stitch markers to your project so far so you remember those 5 stitches? I'm telling you, it's a lifesaver. Okay, so we start off with a knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we purl 3. So 1, 2, and 3. This brings us to our first twisted knit 2 together. Slip a stitch as if to purl, slip a stitch as if to purl. Go in from the right side through the front, and then back to the back of that front leg and slip it back over to make it twisted. Put that left stitch back on there, or I'm sorry, that first stitch back on the left-hand needle, and then knit 2 together. Okay, that's going to just keep this nice line of twisted stitches right there. You'll see that it really, really starts to pop off your fabric. Then we knit 1 stitch, purl 1 stitch. Really make sure that you give that purl just a nice tug. It just pulls up all that extra slack right there. And then we knit 1 stitch, knit 1 through the back leg, yarn over. I'm assuming you guys know how to do a yarn over now. Once you do that yarn over, we then will knit 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we yarn over again, knit through the back leg, knit 1, purl 1. Remember to give that tug, that little tug. You're going to see it really pulls that slack off of that stitch, and it just makes it look really nice. So once you purl that, you will knit the next stitch. And now we're going to do a TKSP. Slip the first stitch as if to purl, knit the next stitch, pass that slip stitch over. Okay, and that stitch has already been twisted. That's why it's maintaining that twisted line right there. Okay, once you've done that, you will then purl 3. So 1, notice I gave that a nice tug to tighten that up. 2, 3, and you have your knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. Slip your marker, and we finish with those 5 knits. How many of you are getting excited about this? You're like, oh, I understand these stitches now. I'm using those markers. I mean, look how great that's starting to look. You can see you're getting these nice line of twisted stitches here and here. The yarn overs should be lining up in the diagonal, so that way you're going to get a really beautiful look here. It's just, this is fabulous. Okay, so we just finished row 13. We're moving on to row 14. 14 through 20, we aren't going to do anything new. It's just going to continue to move along those nice twisted stitch, those twisted stitch lines. So what I want you to do is go ahead and work through row 20. Meet me back here on 21 where the stitch pattern reverses essentially. So instead of going out like this, we're going to go in like this. And so I want to work through some of those rows with you. The great news right now, guys, is you know everything you need to know to complete this pattern, but why not work through this together? That's what I'm here for. So you finish yours, I'll finish mine, and I'll catch you back right here. All right.
Show me love.
Hey, welcome back. Did you work through row 20? I have to confess that I got so excited that I worked past row 20 that I was like, oh my gosh, I worked past row 20. So I was just like, I'm gonna keep on going. So as you take a look down here, you can see this is like the rows 20 through 32. And I was like, well, I'll just go back and redo my rows that we already worked through together. So I was like, okay, I'm good. But hey, this gives you a good idea of what it is we're going to do. So by this point in your project, you have worked up to this part here, if you were good and stopped at row 20. And this is the part we're going to work together on next. You can see our stitches and our lace with our knit two togethers and our yarn overs have caused these stitches to go out from the center, right? If this is center, they're going out from center. Now we're going to change the positions of our yarn overs and put them outside of our decreases, our knit two togethers, and that's going to cause our shaping to come in towards the center. So we're going to get this really cool zigzag, and that's how you create this really fantastic stitch. So as you wrap up your row 20, let's go ahead and stretch your hands. Make sure you give yourself a nice little stretch, get yourself some water, and we'll dive in for the next set of instructions just to kind of see how it looks like and work through a couple of the rows together. What do you think? Okay, as before, let's take a look at our chart and see where we are and kind of see what these stitches are doing for us. So as we take a look at the chart, we know that we are on row 21. So row 20 is what we just finished, and that's a wrong side row. So if I click my little number thing here, I am on row 21. Now, we look across this row, none of these stitches are unfamiliar to us. We have been working these stitches. However, the placement is now different. We no longer are going to be doing our yarn overs, what I call inside the diamond here. Our yarn over is on the outside of the diamond. And you'll notice that the decrease that we're using, the TSKP that we were doing on the left side before, we're now doing it over here on the right side. So that way these stitches will lean to the left, right? These are going to come in and lean towards the left. And the converse or the reverse is true, or I don't know how else to say that. As we look over here, this is our twisted knit two together. They're doing those over here on the left side, so that way they lean towards the right, and it's going to give us this diamond look. And again, our yarn over is out here on the outside of the diamond. So by placing our increases out here and our decreases in here and changing the direction of them, it's called full fashion shaping, we're getting this really fantastic stitch pattern that is giving us movement without having to do any cable stitches or anything of that sort. It's the actual decreases that are moving our stitches along to give us this really great chevron diamond-esque shape. It's really, I just love it so much. So looking at this chart, you can see we have these reverse stockinette stitches on the outside of our diamond down here. And then those come and they pop into the inside of our diamond up here. And as our reverse stockinette switches places, so do our twisted stitches and our yarn overs. See how they're all on the inside of the diamond here. They're all on the outside of the diamond here. Pretty neat, right? So when we start right here with row 21, I just want to give you a quick reminder, we're on the right side. So we read our chart from right to left. And when you get to where that yarn over should be, make sure you don't lose that yarn over, okay? So when you do that yarn over, followed up by the knit through the back loop or the back leg, make sure you don't lose your yarn over. Same thing as you come all the way across here, you do your knit through the back loop or the back leg, and you have your yarn over followed by all of those knits. You want to make sure for every increase, there is a matching decrease. All right, so now that we've had a look at our chart once again, let's go ahead and we'll jump in with row 21. I'm going to say like row 21 like 5 times, so be prepared. All right, so we are on row 21 as I mentioned, and we start off with our knit 5 all the way over to the marker. I guarantee you guys are loving these markers. And hey, if you don't know how to make markers, I have a video showing you how to make these really fabulous markers. They're really easy and they come in handy. All right, here we go. We have our yarn over right now, and it is immediately followed with a knit through the back leg with our twisted stitch. Then we do a knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, and then this is going to be our 2 SKP. So we slip 1, knit 1, pass our slip stitch over. And as I mentioned, that's going to make that stitch lean towards the left, and that's what we want. We now do our our purl 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Purl through. Knit 3. I swear I know what these stitches are. I don't know why I'm messing up my words. And then we purl 5 again. It's after we do this last purl that we now jump into our twisted knit 2 together. So we slip and slip, go into the front leg, right? So we go from right to left or from front to back, pull it over, put that one back, and then do our knit 2 together. We've been doing this all along. Like I said, they're not new stitches. We just have a new place for them. So we knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, knit 1 through the back leg, and then yarn over. It's at that point you'll finish off this repeat, right? So we do our 3 here, our 3 knits, slip our marker, and then we knit the last 5. As I'm making my piece here, these garter stitches that I'm keeping on the outside are going to make it really nice and uniform. So as I lightly block this piece, it'll open up the lace. I get those really great traveling stitches, and the garter stitch makes it so it doesn't curl. It looks really awesome, right? Okay, now that we have completed row 21, let's turn our work and go ahead and jump right into row 22, okay? Again, these are not new stitches that we're going to be doing on row 22, but let's work through these together and just kind of make sure we're all on the same page. So we start off with our knit 5, slip our marker, purl 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm in my repeat section, right? So I'm going to purl 1, and then I purl through the back leg. So I get the twisted purl right there. Purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1 through the back leg. Some people will call that knit through the back loop. Then I'm going to knit 5. It's going to give us that really nice reverse stockinette on the other side. Purl 3, which gives us the nice stockinette on the other side, which we could decorate and have some fun with if we wanted to. Then we go back to a knit 5. We have a twisted purl. So again, I come into the back leg and I purl it. Purl 1. Knit 1, purl 1, again, twisted purl, so I go into the back leg and purl. Now don't let that fall off, okay? Make sure you're not losing those yarn overs. We want to make sure they are staying on there because they are vital to make sure we have the same stitch count. All right. And with that, we have finished row 22. I'm so in love with the way this stitch pattern looks. You can see that the reverse stockinette right up here in our diamond area is starting to take shape, and you get a really great look. Now, when I originally designed this particular piece, I thought about doing a slip stitch surface stitch all the way up through the middle of those center 3 stockinette stitches, maybe in a different color. I thought that would be something that would look really cool. You could do the same thing over here in the purl, in the gutter of the purl along the zigzag portion. There are just so many options for this piece. Okay, as you continue on working these repeats, it's important to note that you will not go back down to row 8 for the repeat. You go back to row 9. If you remember the chart, you can see here that row 8, it has like a double red line around it. That's because it was a setup row. It's on row 9 where you really begin that repeat. So on row 32, when you finish row 32, which is a wrong side row, you would go back down to row 9, which is a right side row, to continue on and work that repeat. That's exactly what I did on my example when I worked past where I was supposed to and just continue on. And you can continue in this manner, working those repeats until your project reaches the length that you wish. Once you've done that, you then would continue on, and if you started off with garter stitch, I would suggest finishing off with the garter stitch, and you'll notice that the final rows here do match up with the first rows that you started with down here. You would bind off, make sure it's not too tight so that they don't look abnormal, and you'd have a really nice piece. I've worked up this stitch pattern using fingering weight yarn, worsted weight yarn, and bulky weight yarn, and all of them look fantastic. I love it so very much. So my suggestion for you, if this is a stitch pattern you really enjoy, is to grab your favorite yarn, grab some needles that correspond with that yarn, and just start swatching it up. See if you like it. Remember, this is a free stitch pattern over at marleybird.com. And along with the stitch pattern, you'll notice that there is also a free actual pattern. The mistletoe blanket comes in several different sizes, along with full charts for the stitch pattern repeats to make it easy for you to make a really fabulous blanket. I made that blanket out of Swish bulky weight yarn. It is absolutely amazing, and I recommend it 110%. That's it for me, everybody. As you work on your project, please share with me on social media. Use hashtag MarleyBird or tag me on Instagram. I'm the MarleyBird. And when I get it, I will smash your like button. If you want to be the first to know about all future videos, be sure to hit that subscribe and click that bell so that you are notified whenever I go live with a brand new knitting or crochet video to help you become a better by crafty person. Okay, guys, talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, don't forget, this is a free pattern over at marleybird.com. You can click that link in the video description box below and get the free pattern for the mistletoe blanket as well.
Show me love.